famous monologues of all time, describing fashion as the most powerful art there is, talking about it as design and architecture and movement all in one. And today, my team and I are here to give it that same respect and analyze it the way it deserves. My name is Sarah Sharma, and I am your presenter for Fashion Muslin of the Arts, RIMT World Schools project for Viksit Bharat Buildathon 2025. Our documentary, divided into 3 parts, talks about the niche complexities of the industry at 3 different levels, talking about aspirants to artisans to entrepreneurs. And without further delay, I would like to introduce you to our school's very own fashion clothing connoisseurs.
Hi, who are you and what is your connection to fashion?
Hi, I'm Srishti and I want to pursue a career in fashion, especially fashion communication.
And what interests you about it?
When I was a child, the glitz and glamour really spoke to me. And when I learned more about it, I found out that it's not just about clothes. Fashion is more about design, architecture, culture, history. It's a combination of everything. That's what really inspired me to go more.
Okay, that's really cool. And talking about culture, do you think the way you dress affects your sense of national identity?
Absolutely it does. As one of my favorite characters, Werewolf once said, it shows the world who we are and who we want to be. And like festive season is right now going on. So in Navratri, me and my friends dressed up in Ghagra cholis, which is basically predominant to Gujarat. And like everyone all over India was embodying that spirit.
Right.
So yeah, and it's one of the things I personally love about fashion, like how we can learn about a culture by immersing ourselves in it.
Question. As a student right now in 11th grade and a future, aspirant of the industry, what are the challenges you faced and what do you think the government can do right now that will help you out?
When I started researching about fashion, I found out there are not much mentorship programs and scholarships, etc. And basically one of my primary concerns is like whenever I tell someone that I want to pursue a career in fashion, they instantly assume I want to become a designer. But fashion is not just about designing. So I want more recognition to other fields.
Hi, who are you and what is your connection to fashion?
Hi, I'm Raisha Miklani. I'm from Chandigarh and I want to be a fashion model.
And why so? By modeling?
Modeling is a way I can express myself creatively. So it's kind of like a self-feeling that I enjoy modeling. I'm a science student. I'm always stuck in a classroom, chemistry, physics, science, whatever.
I believe that fashion is like a mirror to present everyone about one's culture. I feel like India's culture should be presented to the whole world. Show how colorful it is. India is divided into north, south, east, west. I want to show everyone every part of it.
Okay, thank you so much. And our final question is, as an 11th grader and a future model hopefully, what are some challenges you faced and what do you think the government can do right now that will help you out?
I believe that the government should put more stricter regulations on the restrictive dieting and that unhealthy competition. I feel like this particular, I won't say stream, but this particular industry should be out more to the public.
Right.
More people should be able to access it. Not feel shameful that why are we in this field. They should happily be there. They want to be here. So I feel like the government should step up a little.
पिछले कुछ ही सालों जो पहले चल रहे थे काम उससे आजकल जो काम चल रहा है गवर्नमेंट ने उस पर बहुत अच्छा रूप दिया है। अपने जो आजकल लोन वगैरह दे रही है, बिजली लोन, मुद्रा लोन दे रही है गवर्नमेंट बिजनेस के लिए, बहुत अच्छा है जो पहले नहीं था।
आजकल की आधुनिक चीज़ें आने के बावजूद आपको किन चीज़ों ने प्रेरणा दी है ये काम जारी रखने के लिए?
देखो, ये काम जारी रखने के लिए एक तो अपने परिवार से थोड़ा हट के चलना पड़ता है, बिजनेस को बहुत प्रोफाइल करना पड़ता है, ठीक है, समय का थोड़ा बहुत पूरा ध्यान रखना पड़ता है, इसलिए बिजनेस को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए और समय की बहुत ध्यान रखना पड़ता है।
आप रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में इस काम के अंदर क्या मुश्किलें का सामना करते हो?
रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में ये होता है कि वो चीज़ नहीं मिलती घूमने फिरने के लिए, वो बंदा जो रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी में कर लेता है ना, लेकिन बिजनेस वाला बंदा क्या होता है कि अपना बिजी ज़्यादा रहता है, वो थोड़ा हट के इंजॉय नहीं कर सकता है।
और
रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी से बिजनेस वाला थोड़ा फंसा हुआ होता है।
और आपने काम में क्या मुश्किलें सामना करना पड़ता है इस काम में?
मुश्किल कुछ नहीं होती, ऐसे अपना बिजनेस के लिए अच्छा रखो, बस तरक्की करो और मेहनत करो। अगर मेहनत करोगे तो कोई मुश्किल नहीं होगा।
मेरा नाम मान सिंह, मान टेलर के नाम पे शॉप।
अच्छा, और आप ये जो टेलरिंग का काम है कितने साल से कर रहे हैं?
मुझे 38 ईयर हो गए।
अच्छा, तो जैसे आप इतने टाइम से ये काम कर रहे हो, तो पिछले कुछ सालों में कोई चेंजेस आए हैं इस काम में?
हाँ, मशीनें पहले हाथ वाली थी, फिर पैरों वाली आई, फिर मोटर वाली आई, अब जुक्की आ गई।
और क्या कहते हैं, ये जब चेंजेस आए तो आपको इसको जब एडजस्ट करना पड़ा इनके साथ, तो आपका गवर्नमेंट ने कोई सपोर्ट किया?
गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसा कोई सपोर्ट नहीं, अपने बलबूते पे लगभग वो भी करते हैं।
अच्छा, और आजकल जैसे लोग मोस्टली रेडीमेड कपड़े लेना या ऑनलाइन से कपड़े मंगवाने का वो रखते हैं, शौक रखते हैं, तो आपको ये जो काम है ये करने की मोटिवेशन कहाँ से मिलती है?
मोटिवेशन मैम, आप काम सीखा है तो वही करना पड़ेगा, और मोटिवेशन इससे मिलती रहती है हमें जो हम काम करते हैं, और साथ इसी से मिलता है कि हाँ भाई थोड़ा कर लें।
अच्छा, और आपको ऐसा कोई सजेशन है आपके पास कि क्या कहते हैं, गवर्नमेंट अगर इसको इम्प्रूव करना चाहे तो वो कैसे करेगी?
कि गवर्नमेंट को ये चाहिए जो देख के, जो जैसे टेलर हैं या जैसे बुटीक के हैं, उनके हिसाब से उनको चेक करके देख के उनको सहयोग दे,
सपोर्ट देना चाहिए।
सपोर्ट देना चाहिए।
ठीक है भैया, थैंक यू।
Hi, I'm good and I'm so sorry about all the delay.
No, it's perfectly fine. I completely understand. I called you on a weekend. So, yeah.
So Mona is your mom?
Yeah, she is.
Okay. So where are you right now? Are you in Chandigarh? Where are you studying?
I'm in Chandigarh. I study in RIMT in Manimachra. I live in near Dhakoli though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right.
So you don't live at home with your mom then?
I do. She also lives with me. She's
Okay.
yeah.
Got it.
Alright.
Okay, so I've been through the questions that you've sent. There was
Yeah.
one particular thing which I wasn't sure about.
Yeah.
The Viksit Bharat one where you talk about the Buildathon. What is the
Right.
Buildathon?
So essentially, this Viksit Bharat Buildathon is an initiative by the government of India, where basically they've invited school students to come up with either a physical thing or a concept, an idea in a way they can like improve a particular part of the industry, of any industry, or in a way they see like some change happening. So it's basically about inspiring ideas and trying to get young people on board for an independent and Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Okay, so I'm not sure whether you've been through my brand's page. So there is this speech from Lovely Professional University from Feb
Right.
this year that's up
Yes,
there
yes.
in different
Yes, yes.
parts. So that was like for the Viksit Bharat conference of ICSSR.
Right, I saw.
But that was for women empowerment. So do you want me to bring that in when we talk about Viksit
Yes,
Bharat?
yes, you
आप
should.
schools के लिए specifically बात कर रहे हो, right?
You
So
can-
ICSSR would be different to what the Buildathon is, I believe.
yeah.
Though both of them fall under
Yeah,
Viksit
they
Bharat
say fall
2047.
so they fall under the same like initiative. So I feel like we should talk about it since you've done so much work for it.
Okay, so when you record, like, are you gonna put clips into your video? Is it like an interview that you're recording? Is it like a conversation that you're recording? I'm asking so that I know and I'm prepared
Yes.
for that.
Of course, I completely understand. So basically, we're making like a documentary style thing. So I'm going to be interviewing you, and we're going to like have the whole interview in the film. But I was hoping we could use some of like you mentioned your speech, so like things you mentioned on your social media, we could pick that up for our B-roll. So while you speak, we can play clips from that to keep the visual interest in the film.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds good. And will you also be able to provide me with the interview that you take so that I can also use that on my page?
Right, sure. I would love to do that, yeah. I'll be recording it.
And
on
is it
Zoom
okay if
at
I just bring my coffee in beach?
Yeah,
mein,
perfect,
pee rahi hu saath
perfect.
saath coffee
Yeah, it's
because
perfect.
I'm exhausted.
I completely
batteries
understand. I completely understand. I've also just wrapped on my shooting for the other parts of the film, so I completely understand. It's perfectly fine.
Uh-huh.
All right, so
Okay, sounds good. So we can
yeah.
get started. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just start recording now.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Recording in progress.
All right, so firstly, I would like to ask, what does fashion mean to you, and how does it tie into your sense of national identity?
Okay, so I think that's a very intelligent question that you've planned, and I'm
Thank you.
very glad and I'm very happy that someone is thinking of fashion as identity
Yes.
and looking at fashion. I feel like fashion gets reduced a lot to just what we are wearing in terms of, like, say, oh, I'm going to this party and this is what I want to wear, which just gets reduced to fast fashions. But in terms of national identity, I think that adds a lot of whole lot of weight in terms of heirloom, heritage, culture to fashion, which is fashion in true sense. Fashion is just not a pretty piece of top that we buy from H&M or Zara. I mean, all of us love to do that.
Yeah.
But that is not fashion at its core. Fashion at its core is a form of expression. And I think that expression doesn't come forth until or unless we don't resonate with a particular heritage or culture, and heritage and culture is a part of national identity. But in India, national identity is so diverse. Like, we are all Indians, but we all come from different cultures. So say I'm a Punjabi or someone is a Marathi, Kannada, so every heritage, every culture will have a different identity. So India's national identity, I think, will fall in the broader category of textiles, which gives birth to fashion. But fashion, I think, more than a national identity, is a heritage and a cultural identity. So I mean, sari, for example, which is often seen as a national identity in India, sari is not worn that often in Punjab. I mean, in Punjab, or say more specifically in Sikhism, it is the salwar kameez which is more common. So in Punjab we wear saris, but I mean, it's the salwar kameez or like the gararas and the shararas closer to the Islamic dressing sense, and the typical Punjabi or the Patiala salwars is what we do more often. So I mean, while sari, which is like generally seen as the national identity abroad, like internationally, and I think if we are talking about international identity, is where national identity comes into focus. But when we're talking of national identity in a domestic sense, then it's very diverse in terms of, say, every Kannadas wear the sari very differently compared to how Marathis wear it. But if we talk about sari as a national identity, fashion, which is more predominantly the scenario in international space, then sari is the national identity, and that is the culture of India in the global space. But if we talk about it domestically, I think that's a very different scene, and then we need to talk about heritage and culture of every region in India, and then understand what fashion is in terms of that.
Alright, and to you personally, so as somebody from Punjab, how do you resonate with fashion, and for you personally, how does it represent being Punjabi or being Indian?
Okay, so I think that's also what my work and my brand showcases. So being Punjab, like being from Punjab, Fulkari comes forth. However, Fulkari, what many people don't know, is not the craft of whole of Punjab or all the communities that are living in Punjab. Fulkari is specifically the craft of Jat community. It is not the craft of all communities living in Punjab. So coming from Punjab, I would say, I mean, to me, sorry, your question was like, so what is
So what does it mean to you? So what does being Punjabi and being Indian mean to you in the way that you dress or the way you design your clothes?
Okay, so for me, I think it really does depend what part of India I'm in and what kind of occasion I'm attending, and depending on that, I decide how to dress. Like, so I think if I mean, India nowadays is also very cosmopolitan, and all Indians are also very global. So when we say India is cosmopolitan, that implies that, like, you know, Punjabis are living and working in Bangalore, which is again Karnataka, or they're in Mumbai, which is Maharashtra. So what we can wear at a cultural or a local social gathering in Punjab will be very different to what we wear at a social gathering in Mumbai or Bangalore. So keeping that in mind, I would say that, like, you know, my identity and my fashion sense as a Punjabi really does depend upon the modern Indian scenario. So, for example, if I look at my brand Av label, Fulkari traditionally was just dupattas. But those heavy embroidered bags and chope and those Fulkari dupattas, how many of us can wear them as frequently as we like? We can't. I mean, we can't just walk out wearing those. So it just gets reduced to a Punjabi wedding is when you would pull out your Fulkari dupatta, but you would barely pull it out if you're attending the wedding of a friend who's a Marathi. So in that sense, I think I still own up to my culture, my heritage of being a Punjabi, and I'm very proud of it. But I do strongly feel that for it to survive, it has to be contemporarized, and that is also my portfolio of work, and that is also the idea behind my brand.
Okay.
That we are doing Fulkari using traditional techniques but in a very contemporary form, so that the culture and the heritage doesn't die, because the youth won't be able to resonate with it if it's not wearable anymore.
Right.
So I mean, it is very important to retain what it was, but it's also very important to modernize it so that we don't lose it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like you mentioned, talking about contemporarization of the industry and talking about how the world has become more global. So in that sense, when you place India's fashion on a map, do you think we've achieved our potential, or do you think there's still more work to be done?
Okay, so I think in that sense, India's textile industry really is achieving its potential. And if we go back in the post-colonial eras when India was known for its textiles and it had like 23% of the global GDP, I think textiles had a major role to play in that. It was the richness of the textiles in India. So now when we talk about it, because we are two Indians talking here, so in that sense, I would like to say that when we talk of it, there is again a domestic angle to it, and then again how the international community views the textiles and the fashion industry in India. So when we talk about it domestically, the answer would be very different. But globally, I think in terms of modern fashion and like in producing garments for the modern industry, India does supply a lot to a lot of major brands like Inditex, Zara, all of them pick up a lot of their garments from India. But then that is the supply chain. India, in that sense, is earning out of it. It is the textiles and the fashion industry, but the manufacturing aspect of it. But it is not exerting any cultural influence, and I think fashion is about influence and cultural identity. So India really is not exerting cultural and that powerful influence that fashion is supposed to bring, but domestically it is doing that. Domestically, I think there are a lot of indigenous brands, homegrown brands, which are beautifully exerting the identity of the heritage and the textile crafts in India. But globally, I think India really is optimizing on its manufacturing capacities, but in terms of cultural soft power that fashion has, what Prada can assert or what LV can assert, that India is not doing, even if India is manufacturing for majors like Zara and Inditex.
Okay, that's a wonderful answer, by the way. Very enlightening. I just have to say that. Alright, so talking about our homegrown brands who are bringing our indigenous crafts to light, let's talk about your brand and your personal challenges that you faced in your professional life in the time you worked in the industry. And do you think there are any ways the government can contribute in helping handle and manage those obstacles that you faced for the next generation?
Okay, so that's a wonderful question. That again has a lot of aspects to it. So, I'm again trying to modernize a very traditional dyeing craft.
Right.
So that's number one challenge where I feel there isn't enough government support, because Fulkari traditionally wasn't a commercial craft, unlike chikankari or ikat or say the Ari embroidery from Kashmir. So Fulkari was always something that was done for personal use, but if we are trying to modernize it and if we want to preserve the craft, then I think government understanding of the historicity of the craft is required. While the Punjab and Haryana governments hold the GI tag, so why is Fulkari always called a Punjabi craft, whereas Haryana also has a GI tag for it? Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I mean that makes a lot of sense.
So there is a historical reason for that. So the Jat community in Punjab and the Jat community in Haryana are traditionally the same. So they are both the agricultural and the agrarian communities, and those are the ones which which are the custodians of the real Fulkaris, the old heirloom Fulkaris which are passed down, and that's what most of us don't know. And I think that is the reason why Haryana and Punjab both have the GI tag, though Fulkari is always known as the craft of the Punjabi community. But it is truly the craft of the Jat and the Jat community, which is the agricultural community of the Punjab and Haryana region. So in that sense, I think if we are trying to revive a craft, we can't revive it if we don't have enough understanding from the government about the historicity of the craft. Because what is crucial in reviving a craft, reviving or say sustaining, because chicken curry really doesn't need revival, it needs sustenance. It didn't die. Fulkari died, or Fulkari was never commercial, is why it needs revival. Chicken curry or ikat just needs sustenance, or Banarasi silk needs sustenance. These don't need revival. So in that sense, the approaches and strategies that the government has for those crafts is very different. But for a craft, because that's sustenance, and where we need revival, the strategies need to be very different in alignment with the historicity of the craft.
Right.
And I think, for example, if the government has put in the effort to get us the GI tag, at the same time, Darjeeling tea, I'm moving away from the textiles industry, also has a GI tag on it. So the Darjeeling tea has an association, and any tea which is produced outside Darjeeling doesn't get the Darjeeling tea tag when they sell globally. So they can't mix it with other teas grown in other geographical areas, whereas we don't have any such kinds of associations or any such kinds of support from the government for Fulkari, despite a lot of work which is now being done around Fulkari, which I'm very happy to see, because when we launched our label in 2021, there was no organized work that was being done to modernize Fulkari. Through a brand. Like, there were a lot of artisans who were doing it, but it still was being done in ways where it wouldn't attract the eye of the market. But I think ever since our launch, ever since our label was incepted, a lot of other brands have also come up which are trying to do that, which I think is beautiful, because more the people, more the awareness that comes through. So I am really happy about that. But if we get the government support in taking and understanding how the challenges that the ones who are working with it face, and in understanding the historicity of the craft, I think we can go a long way.
Okay, wow. I mean, what you're doing is so inspiring, as somebody who's grown up in Chandigarh my entire life, who my grandparents are from Punjab. They may not be Jats, but I mean, it's very inspiring to hearing you talk about the brand and the impact you've made. But I won't keep you too long. So for my last question, so our film revolves around the challenges faced by the fashion insiders in terms of the administrative structure and quality, and how we can improve upon those things for this Viksit Bharat Buildathon. So basically, do you feel like initiatives like these, like this Buildathon, and encouraging students and young people to go out and actually find solutions, how do you think they'll help streamline the industry, the fashion industry, vis-a-vis your journey?
Okay, so what I feel here is that, like, fashion, what colleges often do is they just teach fashion. And when we are just studying fashion, the course modules get reduced to styling or knitwear or the fabric of the garment. But we at times fail to holistically see the fashion and the textiles industry as a one unit, because they're intertwining. While fashion is an expression, textiles is the one which is the larger industry which is supporting fashion. Fashion is just expression. Textiles is what is allowing you to have that expression. So in that sense, I feel that we really do miss out a lot on the real practical work. So a lot of these conferences come up, a lot of these policies come up, but they fail to hit that tangent with the ones who are actually supposed to bring the result. Where we can see that what will derive change. These policies at times fail to hit a tangent with them. It's more of a theory and less of practicality. So for example, I think this year in Feb, I was addressing a conference on Viksit Bharat 2047 in alignment with their ICSSR goals at Lovely Professional University in Jalandhar. So there I did talk about like, the impact we've been able to create for women artisans under the Viksit Bharat policy. So that impact only comes when we are able to interact with them, we are able to provide the gap. And my key highlight from that speech was that artisans hold the traditional know-how, like the traditional skill and the knowledge to do the craft, but they don't have the expertise to reach the global markets or say even the domestic markets properly. So that's where the brands come in, because brands have the communication and the marketing strategies. Brands, if holding hands with artisans is only when they can survive. Just artisans or just brands is a tough game to survive. So it's a joint effort. And I would say the same for Buildathon. So if students are getting involved, it shouldn't be just confined to the theory of the Viksit Bharat. A practical tangibility needs to come through. Only if a tangent is hit is when the result will be seen. While the ideas and the thought behind Viksit Bharat is beautiful, the real practical work needs to come through for a real impact to be seen.
Question is, what does fashion mean to you, and how does it tie into your sense of national identity?
Okay, so see, fashion, Sarah, is a very, very broad term. For me, fashion has always been, the art of expressing myself.
Right.
Now, how does one express themselves is through the clothes you wear, because that's before talking to somebody also, like, we both are talking to each other, but the first thing is, okay, what are you wearing? How are you looking? What clothes you're wearing? What shoe, makeup, hair? So, and accessories also. So it's like, it's coming together of everything. But also for me, fashion has always been comfort. I do not follow trends blindly. I know my body type. I know exactly what's going to suit me. And also, fashion for me is very mood based.
Okay.
So fashion for me is it's not just clothes, Sarah. It's what I'm eating, where I'm living, my office space, everything.
Oh, that's really cool. And how does it tie into your sense of national identity?
So national identity in what sense? I mean, can you just...
Yeah, so in the way that like the clothes you wear and the art you promote, right? That comes, so the resources that you have that are coming from the Indian craftsmen or things like that.
Oh, definitely. So like I said, that I am a great advocate of I advocate sustainability a lot. So we work with a lot of karigars, artisans, weavers, dyers, printers, which are working at the grassroots level. So when we, start interacting and start teaching our students when they enroll into our institute, that's the first thing we tell them, that when you present a collection, it is always going to be about you. It is always about the designer. If Manish Malhotra is doing a show or Rahul Mishra is doing a show, it's always about them. But what is the backstory of the, the brand? Who is working behind the scenes to make the brand? So it's always, I, at least at my level, try to promote whoever is, doing the work at the ground level. If it's a printer, and if I've done a collection on Bandhani, or if somebody's done a collection on Phulkari, who's done it? I've just designed it. I've just given my, my concept to the karigar, but it's the karigar, it's the weaver who's actually done it. So and also because I belong to the army setup, I'm a third generation in the army. So I like to promote these people. And also, when you're picking up fabrics, I do my bit by guiding the students that go and pick up fabrics which is organic, stay away from synthetic, stay away from power loom and mill loom made fabric. So little things will add up, and you will do your bit for the nation.
I'm my grandfather was also in the military, so I get it.
Oh, lovely. Okay, great.
And then, talking about India and the way we view ourselves, do you think as a country we're commanding a potential in the global level, on the global level, or do you think there's still some steps to be taken?
So, in the recent years, we've always had a very rich cultural heritage. The kind of textiles we've had, that used to be the barter, system in the ancient times, that the chint prints, the indigo color, the fabric, everything went from here. So somewhere, maybe 20, 30 years back, we were a little lost. But with the globalization and people becoming aware and the power of social media, I think our designs, our textiles, our culture, the art form that we have has come into place. People have now become aware that we are a very culturally rich country. You know, people travel all the world or all across the world to India. You've seen Prada. The Kolhapuri chapati became such a big thing. You know, and also in the you must have noticed that in the Ambani wedding, these big huge celebrities coming from all across the world were wearing our designers. I mean, there is no dearth of designers. They could have chosen any designer from any part of the world, if talk about Mark Zuckerberg or anybody. But because of digitization and globalization, our designers have actually, you know, reached the global platform. We're talking about Rahul Mishra. This is one designer that I'm sure you know, and you Googled his name. He's at par with all the possible big labels, and he's arrived, you know. Paris Fashion Week, be it any fashion week, he's become like, he's got the open doors, he's got celebrities sitting in the front row, like from Anna Wintour to anybody and everybody. So yes, of course. So Indian fashion is now being globally recognized all across.
And we love to see it, don't we? So my third question is, what are some particular challenges you faced in your professional life, and what are the ways you think the government can contribute in helping handle and manage these obstacles for the next generation?
Okay, so I'm talking about the time when I started. I started way back 95. So first of all, there was nothing known as internet then. So major challenges then, but over a period of time, internet came in, and, you know, we could source things. Then Google came in. Google became like the mandatory dictionary for everybody. You need to know anything what's happening around the world, you Google. So the challenge was getting information at that point of time. My age, because I was just 17 when I started. And and also the awareness. People didn't know that fashion can be a full-fledged career. Like if you're good in studies, the only profession then was either you become an engineer or a doctor, or, you know, you get into writing. But somebody saying that, listen, I want to take fashion as a mainstream career was a big challenge. But over a period of time, things became easy. And now, I mean, there are multiple institutes, avenues for kids like you to go and, you know, join in. And the kind of activities. You travel abroad. There are pathway programs. You do 1 year here and you go and finish your graduation in fashion in some other country. So the world has changed. But I still feel, coming back to the question that what can the government do, is that the government can do their bit. I mean, a lot of private institutes have come in and they're providing good quality education. But at the same time, when you talk about a government institute, when it comes to fashion and textile and art, getting into an institute is a government institute is very difficult, like NIFT. It has very limited, seats where not everybody and anybody can go and join. So I feel that there is a lot of potential in the country. A lot of creativity, because it's a skill-based profession. So the government should have more setups, more opportunities, that students like you, young students, young children who want to make a career in this can come forward and participate and, you know, learn. So rather than having one niche institute, why not, you know, bring it down and break it down to smaller cities, and also to tier 2, tier 3 cities where students do not have the paying capacity also. Now, NIFT or any other institute, it becomes very expensive for a lower middle class. That person might be talented. ऐसा तो नहीं है that only the rich are talented, right? It's a skill based. But anybody who has a good hand and has a flair, has interest in this field can do well. I mean, we had a student, Mazhar Mahmood. His father came from Saharanpur and he didn't have resources. So his father couldn't afford his father couldn't give him the money to go and participate in Lakme Fashion Week. So this student worked, earned, and then participated.
Oh wow.
But because we were a private organization and I had a very soft corner for that student, I said, okay, you have the talent, aapko jana chahiye, you must go and participate.
Yeah.
So I kept giving him the opportunity. But when it comes to a government setup,
Right.
it doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it does.
So it should. Yeah. So it should, why not? The government knows that there is potential in the country. The government has seen it. Why can't the government have a body which, collects all these people and gives them a platform to go and showcase someplace outside? I mean, it does happen, but it happens at a very exclusive thing. It's not inclusive. Nobody can just, go to government setup and say, I am talented and I have this and I've made this collection. And, will you give me an opportunity to go abroad? I don't have the resources. But it doesn't work. So there are middlemen sitting in between. So there becomes the problem. That is the problem.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
this
very
direct approach. There is no direct approach to the government.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, so like I mentioned, our film revolves around the challenges of fashion insiders in terms of the administrative structure and polity. And the Viksit Buildathon project basically focuses on the different sectors where we can improve, right? So in context of that, how do you think initiatives like this Buildathon that they're targeting students for to try and find solutions in different fields, how do you think it's going to streamline the fashion industry vis-a-vis your journey?
See, because first of all, you people are being given the right information at the right time. I am 50. What's your age?
I am 16.
What? 16. So, Sarah, if you're looking for solutions at the age of 16,
Yeah.
whereas when I was 16, okay, I started working at 17, but my friends and other, people at that time, my classmates,
Yeah.
I started after +2. They did not have this kind of information and the approach. Look at the approach. You're looking at solutions.
Yeah.
A project like this where you people are putting in your brains.
Yeah.
You're expressing yourselves. You're looking for innovation, ideation. You're looking for solutions. It is such a wonderful thing, and this is happening at the school level.
Yeah.
Imagine, Sarah, you after 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, with so much of clarity.
Right. Yeah.
At 16 in our times, people didn't even know what climate change is, what problems this planet will face 30 years from now. But you people are looking at solutions, be it climate change, fast fashion, pollution, anything and everything which is, bothering the political, social, and the economic side of the globe.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful. And again, the solution would be because the government can move things on a larger scale.
Right. Yeah.
Vis-a-vis private companies. So the government again needs to have more, organizations. I'm sure you guys have been to Delhi Heart and Dastakar.
Yeah.
So these are like beautiful initiatives by the government where they give opportunities to the local karigars, artisans, weavers, printers, dyers, where they get their stuff from small villages and they come and showcase. I don't know whether they pay or they do not pay, at least a walk-in. So like a place in Delhi Heart. You've been to Delhi Heart?
Oh yeah.
Delhi Heart.
Delhi Heart. Yeah.
Actually Delhi Heart, and it's Dastakar. So they have thousands of walk-ins every day. So the karigar, say for example, if somebody is making cane baskets,
Yeah.
Sarah, if somebody is making shawls, if somebody's got bandhani sarees from Rajasthan, he or she is directly selling it to the consumer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, and there are no middlemen in between. So whatever the profit is coming is directly going into the weaver's pocket
Right.
or
yeah.
the dyer's pocket, which is such a big solution.
Yeah. Of course.
Rather than me traveling all across,
Yeah.
picking up stuff from something from Odisha, something from Gujarat, something from Rajasthan, and having a nice big showroom and selling it at exorbitant prices and just paying the weaver a minimal wage. So that is not correct. So
Yeah.
what the solution comes in is fair wages,
Yeah, of course.
good policies, good policies,
Right.
a place, an organization, a body which the government can come out where they promote genuine. I'm sure there are a lot of NGOs. There are a lot of NGOs that do this work,
Right.
but still there's lots to be done.
Of course.
Sometimes the NGOs are genuine. Sometimes the NGOs aren't genuine.
Yeah.
Nothing is to the person. I mean, I'll give you an example. I don't know, maybe it is out of context, but I was traveling to Kashmir in Srinagar, and they do these. Okay, because this thing is lying in front, so they do this. It's a paper mache thing, and they hand paint it.
Oh wow.
So I was asking, So I was asking this guy who had this shop. I said, but why don't you have a good variety? You have very limited stuff in the shop. And 10 years ago when I came, this shop only had so much of variety. He said, because my next generation does not want to do this.
Yeah.
They know that there is no money. People don't value it.
Right.
People are running after fast fashion. People will buy synthetic stuff. People will buy Chinese made stuff.
Yeah.
So that is much cheaper than a person spending 3, 4, 5 days in painting something. So naturally, a hand painted anything which is done by hand is more expensive.
Right.
Machine made thing is always cheaper. So that is where the government should come in.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a huge
Task.
topic. Can go on and on. Like, how do we fight? Even the Lord Ganeshas come from China.
Yeah.
So how do we battle that issue? But the government can promote these artisans, these weavers, these clusters where they do, they're sitting in small villages, they're sitting in small towns and cities. So pick them up, genuinely pick them up and promote them.
Okay.
Rather than Prada coming in and exploring the Kolhapuri chappals and selling it for lakhs.
Yeah.
Why can't we do it at our level?
Yeah. All right. So that's it from us. Thank you so much. It's been an honor speaking to you.
Oh, come on. Anytime.
Yes.
Chalo, all the best.
Sorry?
That's also
Yeah.
because the influencers are of course earning a lot of money, but the government needs to streamline that and use them to promote art.
Of course. Yeah, I agree.
They have millions of followers.
Yeah.
And they are promoting products made elsewhere rather than promoting products that are made in India. So the government can step in, streamline, and ask them to promote our stuff.
The policy isn't nuanced enough. There is an inherent dissonance between our policy makers, these big men in big suits with big tables to talk around, who don't care enough to get to the grassroots level problems, and our artisans who haven't been able to convey them. But all hope is not lost. That because this is where people like you and I can come in. People like us who care enough to make an effort. Fashion in India still needs support, and I believe it is our duty to fulfill it. It is our duty to show up for fashion and for the industry, because that is what being Indian is about, isn't it? It's about being there, it's about showing up, it's about being there for your family and your community and your society. For me today, showing up meant making this documentary. For my team around me, it meant analyzing the hopes and dreams and fears of these craftsmen in a way that makes it achievable in a research paper. For you, perhaps it would mean watching us make this documentary, watching us make this film, and doing the same thing. It's about using your best skills to your greatest capability to make life easier for those who make your life more fun. The people who design your clothes or make those cool new sneakers you've always wanted to get, and even for the kids in those beige grey classrooms who help